Good afternoon and welcome to our presentation, Digital Video Inspections, Building Trust, Driving Business, and Modernizing the Customer Experience. My name is Andrew Markell. I am the Director of Technical Content for Babcock's Media and the moderator for today's event. Today's webinar is sponsored by Mitchell 1. To stay competitive, automotive repair shops must embrace digital tools that meet customer expectations where they are online. In today's webinar, we'll be talking about how advanced digital video and vehicle inspections tools can help modernize your shop experience, driving efficiency and fueling business growth. But before we get started, I'd like to address some of the housekeeping items here. As part of today's webinar, we're going to have a live Q&A session at the end. We will address some questions during the last portion of the event. To improve your chances of those being answered, do not wait until the end of the event to submit them. Ask the questions as they occur to you. Do this by hitting that Ask a Question box and then hitting that Submit button. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand for you to view. We encourage you to direct your coworkers to the recorded presentation. Tomorrow, you'll receive an email with a link to the recording, and it'll also be posted on the Shop Owner Brand websites. Tire review, brake and front end, import car, underhood service, and also tech shop. Within this webinar software, you have the ability to open, close, and resize different elements on your screen. To make a window larger, just grab the corner and drag it. You can also make some windows full screen by clicking the Maximize button in the upper right-hand corner of the window. If you want to receive that certificate of attendance, click on the graduation hat icon within the black toolbar on the left-hand side. You're also going to see icons for email and also social media. You can use these buttons to share today's event. If you're viewing this from a mobile device, you may need to click on those four dots in the menu in the upper right-hand corner of your screen to view these different icons. Your feedback, well, that's what makes these events even better. Please click the survey icon to leave your comments about today's topic and presenters. The survey will also appear in the middle of your screen towards the end of the event between the live presentation and the Q&A. If at any time you need help, send a message through the Ask a Question box. And finally, if you ever run into an issue where audio is breaking up, slides aren't advancing, try refreshing the window by hitting the F5 key or Command R if you're on a Mac. It will refresh the console window and hopefully cure any of the problems you're having. Now I'd like to introduce our presenters. We're happy to have Sid Murray, Business Unit Director, Dealer Network Solutions at Snap-on Business Solutions, joining us today. Sid joined Snap-on in 2007 and brings deep experience in engineering, software, and customer success. He began his career leading electronics engineering teams in the British Army and later transitioned to ERP software at BAE Systems. After spending 6 years in automotive startups, including 2 successful exits, he joined Snap-on in 2007. We also have Tim McDonald, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Mitchell 1, joining us today. Tim is recognized as a subject matter expert in shop management software and joined Mitchell in 1985. He has played a key role in the company's lead media developer for product training materials and co-hosts the popular Manager SE workshop events. From 2009 to 2015, he was the vice chair of the Automotive Management Institute Board of Trustees. Tim is also the friendly presence behind the recorded message you hear when you call the Mitchell 1 office. So guys, the floor is yours.
Andrew, thank you. I'm going to try and take control of this presentation. I'm waiting for my buttons to turn green, which they have not as yet. Just bear with me. Michael, if you can hear me, I can just see the original presentation, not the green buttons at this point. Okay, I'll just fill the space while we work out why there's no green button. I will add to my introduction, and thank you, Andrew, for that great introduction. I will add that I am not from the UK. I am from the UK, but I'm actually from Scotland, and I like to tell everybody that I am Scottish as well as being British. Now, the reason I tell you that is because when I get excited, I will speak very, very quickly. So Tim, Andrew, Michael, everyone else on the call, please just shout and say, Sid, slow down. No one can understand you. I will not take offense. People have been telling me that for a long, long time. Now, I am Michael, if you can hear me, I wouldn't mind you moving me on to the agenda slide, because I don't appear to have control at this moment, and I can't quite work out why. Tim, can you tell me what slide you can see, please?
I can see the agenda.
Perfect. So I'm going to assume that either Michael's done that or I've done that by accident. But either way, we will take that as a win, and we will move on from this point. So sorry about that little hiccup. Good old technology. That's why we're here today, right? So a little bit of technology. So we're going to cover off a number of things in today's webinar. A little bit of background and scene setting. Not many surprises here. A couple of stories to get us kind of started. Why we might want to do DVIs. I'm not going to shy away from things like limitations and objections. I feel it's very, very important that we talk about those things. We're going to show you a couple of solutions that we've actually built and have working inside the Mitchell One platform, and then we'll follow that with a wrap up. You'll be glad to hear it won't just be me talking, Tim. So if you wouldn't mind just introducing what you're going to be covering today as well, that would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you. Hi, folks. Glad to be with you today. Principally, I'll be speaking of the relationship between the MPI platform, totally integrated with Manager SE, and the benefits of that workflow to provide an incredible experience for our users, something akin to the experience that service experience found at dealerships. So we'll be talking about product details.
Perfect. Tim, thank you. I'm going to click on to the background slide. Hopefully that's what you can see. If you can't, then Michael, please advance us one slide. If you can see that, then we're good. Tim, have we got the background slide you're seeing?
Just popped in.
Just popped in. Fantastic. Thank you. So I wanted to start with a story and how I actually fell into this game of doing inspections and customer relationships. I was lucky enough many years ago to go to a quite prestigious business school. And during my time there, I was introduced to the concept of Net Promoter Score. I'm sure we all know and love Net Promoter Score, or NPS as it's called. And I got to learn how Mr. Reichheld and co. actually came up with the Net Promoter Score. And what was fascinating was when the Harvard Business School guys and girls, did their study, they ranked industries. And out of that ranking, and they ranked it by things that people like to do least. And there was only one industry, Tim, that was actually voted worse than going to an auto dealership. And Tim, can you guess what that was?
I'm not sure, but I just got this feeling that you're going to tell us anyways, right, Sid?
You are absolutely correct. I'm going to tell you anyway. It's actually dentistry. No British teeth jokes required at this point, please. It's actually dentistry. So can you believe, in terms of ranking industry, the only thing that people thought was worse than going to a dealership or a repair facility was going to the dentist? Now, bearing in mind, dentists, I suppose in a similar way to us, they take your money when you don't want to spend it, but they actually inflict pain. And we still managed to come out pretty close to them, which is just a terrible predicament. So this fascinated me, because when you look actually at our overall scores and customer experience scores, when you leave a dealership, we score very highly, very, very highly. And yet people still had that feeling that they didn't want to go back or didn't want to recommend you to a friend. So that's my backstory. I'm going to go on to slide 5, and hopefully slide 5 for me, which is meeting expectations. Tim, please tell me when that appears on your screen. That would be great.
Okay, I will be controlling slides now.
Oh, marvelous. So we should be on meeting expectations, if that's all right.
Precisely.
Awesome. Right. Now, that study was done years and years ago when I was a young boy. And as you can see from this very, very white beard, I'm not a young boy anymore. And things have changed, but not necessarily for the better. We have an evolving customer base. And if I think about the way my children, who are 20 and 17, the way my children approach things and approach the internet and approach modern life, they threaten me with bad reviews on TripAdvisor if I make them a bad meal. That's the kind of world that I'm living in now. And we have to be kind of au fait and familiar with that, because finding something is very, very easy. Grading something is even easier. And, people like to complain on the internet. There's a little known fact, but if you go on Trustpilot, more often than not, when the people find the company that they'd like to review, they actually start by pre-selecting 1-star reviews, not 5. Isn't that interesting? We're so pessimistically minded that the first place that we go is actually 1-star review. So that means that it's vital to us that we understand not only how the customer behaves, but of course, how we can fit in with that new mode, that new model. And one of the ways that we need to do that is by being online. But I want to be really, really clear about something. Face-to-face, in my humble opinion, still matters. And not only does it matter, but it is the most important communication medium that we have today. We understand each other better. We like to look in the eyes of the person that's trying to extract money from us. We like to look in the eyes of the person who's there to provide the service to us. So in order to meet these expectations, we have to be everywhere and all things to all people, which sounds pretty impossible, but it's not. We can do it with a couple of tweaks in our business process, with some very intuitive bits of software. We can do it too. And that's really what I'm going to take us through, hopefully, today, Tim. So what I'll do is I'll ask you, thank you, just to move us on to the next one, if that's okay.
Certainly.
Thanks. So before we get into this, I'm just going to dive into the DVI section, which I'm going to have to move my own slides, sorry. But before I get into this, Tim, there are a lot of things inside Manager SE, and I am not the expert. I feel like I'm standing on the shoulder of giants here talking to you. I'm not the expert on Manager. So if you wouldn't mind, I think it's very, very important, actually, that if you take the context of what I just described, this new world, that you explain some of the things that Manager helps you do today, never mind having a new solution on top.
I'd be happy to. You know, one component that we have under the hood is the social CRM, which is our core retention tool for building shop loyalty, sending out reminders for upcoming service appointments, perhaps some outstanding work that we want to get them back in and scheduled, and maybe that occasional email blast reaching out to customers. You know, in the bigger picture, this serves to boost the average number of shop visits their customers make to the shop every year. They might say that that customer reaches us out 3-4 times a year, and then we do an analysis and say, well, it looks more like 1.6. So you need to be more active using that component. The biggest news for us as far as Manager SE is the recent change to the new job view mode being available. That's a game changer, because not only does it improve the organization of the actual work in front of us on screens, it actually serves to improve the documentation that we share with customers, estimates and invoices. Customers will give us that approval that we're really looking for to get the work going, because they most quickly, they understand clearly what the charges are for each service that is on the estimate. And then we can quickly get approval, and anything they defer, with one click, I move it to revision for follow-up. It's easy to read. Customers understand the details and the pricing for each job specifically. Shops don't have a driveway moment trying to explain the actual documents they're sharing. So what I'm particularly excited about, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but the idea that inspection items that have been identified as having issues or concerns will automatically create new job containers on the order screen. So I'm really excited about the way that the MSE inspections, as we're going to call it, it just works so magically within job view, within the order screens and revision screens as well.
Absolutely. Tim, thank you. And it's clear to see just from your kind of description there, what we're trying to be is transparent, and we're trying to digitize this, and we've got our kind of TikTokers in mind, and I don't mean that negatively, but I mean the attention span of a goldfish in mind, and I'm talking about my own children there, so I'm allowed to say that. But you know, we've got that in mind, and I must say, Tim, as a relative novice to Manager SE and the platform, I did try without job view turned on, because I've been indoctrinated on the job view being turned on, and I found that quite complicated. So I, for one, am very much on the side of tick that little box, please, because it's going to make everybody's life much, much easier. So Tim, thank you for that. I think we can get into it's the why now, hopefully on your slides, and if you just let me know when you're on there. I've already clicked on. Okay, so I want to talk about this. You know, taking a bit of a historical view. I'm an old dude. I've been around a few different blocks, and I'm not going to sit here and say to everybody that, yeah, what we're doing here is new, or I've reinvented any wheels or anything like that. It really is not new. There's an expectation that these things are carried out on a vehicle regardless. And, you know, I hark back to my military days, and I joined the army in, you know, a very, very, very long time ago, where digital inspections were not a thing, and everything was done on paper, which wasn't really a problem at the time. I didn't see much of an issue with doing things on paper, but we had to check our equipment, our trucks, if you like, our heavy trucks every week. Now, the one thing I do worry about is, where is all of that paper? Because we produced hundreds and thousands of bits of paper that sit there. But just to reinforce the point, these are not new. All we're trying to do by modernizing it really is provide a kind of outbound addition, which is we can send this to our customer base. And I think when you put it in that context, we have to also think about other things that aren't new. Manager SE, for example, is not new. People have had shop management solutions for a while, Tim. And I don't know what you think about that in terms of it's the not new, but I just want to set the scene slightly. What are your
Yes,
thoughts?
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it is a new way to do the old dance, and that is by having our something like our shop management system and the tools that are employed with it. You can do so many things that you just can't do through the old manual processes. Just as far as following up on customer work, what happens when you find something? Oh, we wrote it on the back of his invoice. Did he bring it with him? No. Does anybody have any idea what he needs? So the shop management system, with its tools like the maintenance schedules and repair procedures, and even that valuable chunk of history, what did we do the last time we touched that vehicle? By having that and the MPI tools, follow-up reminders, it really is a comprehensive package that it elevates the customer's experience, but also does all of these things for the shop to improve their position in the marketplace and compete favorably with the dealerships.
Absolutely. And that to me is a key point, to compete favorably. We already compete very well, certainly on price, all of those things. But in terms of meeting that expectation in line with the dealerships, perhaps this is that next kind of evolutionary phase.
I would just adding one thing. Customers are loyal when they know their vehicles are being looked at properly. End of story.
Absolutely. And that transparency is what we're trying to achieve with this process and with this program. If you wouldn't mind, Tim, would you mind going on to slide 8, which should just be a title slide, limitations and objections? Because I want to get a little bit ugly here for a moment, because I don't like to shy away from things.
This is primary benefits and needs.
It will be it'll say limitations and objections, please. Should be slide 8 in the corner, Tim, please.
Got it.
Thank you. So one thing we have to be mindful of, again, this is not a new process by any stretch of the imagination. And I've been through customer connection with Snap-on, our primary tool for gathering insights. I've been in hundreds of dealerships, and not one of them, when I've walked in, has said, "Hey, Sid, thanks for coming. Please give us a new system that we have to use, and please give us something else that I have to worry about that sits over to the side of my current workflow." And I'm pretty sure, in fact, I've heard this a few times. Sid, if you're coming in here to tell me about another OEM program that I have to do, get out. So again, I don't know what your thoughts are about that, Tim, but for me, it is imperative that this fits in with the current workflow, which is why I'm delighted you're here, because you understand better than anybody what the Manager SE process flow is.
I think after this many years, I feel like I've heard everything at least twice. It is a truism. Users get comfortable with how to perform their job. If you interrupt that, you're moving their cheese. They resist change. So our job is to prove that liberation from a paper-based desktop planner and so many manual processes was indeed possible with our shop management system. Thinking about reference information, making the leap from printed manuals. Yes, I was at the company when manuals walked the earth, and that gave way to CD-ROM. And printed manuals, if you found any mistakes or omissions, they went into a section in the back of the book called late revisions, and nobody ever looked at it. Whereas once you got to digital delivery with CD-ROM and then DVD, that information that was critically needing to be changed appears in context as if it was always there. That's a major difference. Few people ever looked at that other stuff. Meanwhile, the new information was clearly visible in the digital context.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim. If we just go on to the next slide, should be why don't we do it? And have a wonderful picture.
Yes.
Of one of the greatest creatures on the planet. So given all of that, what you just described, where we are now, we've had to drive change. And I think this is kind of one of the most important bits of today. We have to drive change, but not necessarily change of a system, but change of mindset, change of why am I doing this? I can give you a million reasons as to why you don't want to do it. The primary one, certainly, that I hear is I'm busy. I do this, or I do it when I need to on a piece of paper. Said, you're never going to be as fast as a piece of paper. And they're right. I can never be faster than a piece of paper. But let me just tell you something about paper. Remember my story about the army trucks. So if you said to me, yeah, Sid, but which one of those trucks 6 months ago did you inspect and it had wiper blades that need fixed? I'd have to go and find that binder, that good old 4-ring binder, or 3-ring, I think, in the US, but that 3-ring binder. And I'd have to go and sift through all of these pieces of paper and say, it was 48 KK31. You can check that license plate. That's my old truck. 48KK31. And that's the kind of thing that I would have to go through. So when we talk about busyness and doing the process, am I faster than paper? No. Can I be faster than paper? Absolutely not. Not unless we create some magic. I just can't do it unless an AI is going to appear and magically do that. But I am better than paper. And I think this is where we have to start changing the hearts and minds around this. No one wants an additional process step added to their already very, very busy day. And I'm not here to do that. The other thing that we come across is, sometimes a technician says, well, I know what's wrong with the vehicle, but I find it difficult to articulate to the customer what it is in terms that they might understand. So we've got to try and help with that problem as well. And then the last one, the reason it's in italics, is probably my favorite. What if the customer doesn't buy it? Well, okay. I mean, if I'm getting some work done on my house, I might get 3 quotes. That doesn't stop the other 2 tradesmen or builders ever quoting another house again because I didn't give them the business. This is just the way it works. But I will tell you one thing. With the internet and with the ability to be online and digitally search for things, finding an alternative is the easiest thing in the world. So you need to be on there too. You need to be present. You need to look like you're a professional shop. And when I do my search, my comparison search, you need to come out on top. So that's probably a couple of the big heavy hitting reasons as to why we don't do it. And I'm not here to tell you I'm going to solve all of those problems. I'm just telling you I know what the problems are, and I'm trying to reduce the impact so we get the best outcome for everybody in the shop. Tim, would you mind advancing us on to solutions, which is slide 10, because we're going to change tack here slightly. And I think what we're going to start doing, Tim, we're going to get stuck into what are we going to do? How are we going to, solve this problem? How are we going to provide an adequate solution? And what I'd like to do in this next section, Tim, if you wouldn't mind, sorry, I'm treating you like my PA now. If you wouldn't mind going on to the how to do it slide, that would be great, which I think slide 11, if you look at the numbering. We're going to break this down primarily into five key steps, each of which will have a very, very short video. The videos really are so I can have a rest, and more importantly, the audience can have a rest from my voice, which I'm sure they're quite sick of already. So we're going to do that in 5 bits. But importantly, Tim, I think we need to tell the audience that all of these things have been verified by you in terms of how they actually play with the Manager SE system. Would you agree? Would you support my statement?
I will. Some things you say I'm not sure about. I would definitely support you on this, and that is that to deliver the business process using our shop management system we're still using the shop management that they've always known for the core processes. And thankfully, all the training I've done for the last, let's just say 25 years, the good news is that the core processes stay the same.
Fantastic. And I think at this point, it's important to say, I'm not here to change the world. I'm just here to try and enhance it a little. That's what we're really trying to do. There'll be no fundamental changes. That's great. Thank you. If we just go on to the next one then, Tim, we're going to get stuck right in, which is actually the first objective. The first thing that we need to do is we need to link 2 systems together. The 2 systems, in this case, being Manager SE Inspections, or MSEI. Not so easy for me to say with my lisp. But anyway, MSEI, Manager SE Inspections, and the Manager SE platform itself. Now, there are key things here that we try to achieve. I don't want to duplicate effort. I don't want someone to have to think, I need to go and do this in part A and go and do this again in part B. I don't want people to think while they're in the midst of a job, I need to stop and completely do a different process that doesn't quite fit in my workflow. And I think most importantly, if I were to open system A and somebody else was to open system B on a workstation, perhaps, it must all be aligned. It must all line up. We can't have ever the time that these actual systems are out of synchronicity. And Tim, I'd like you to kind of come in at this point again, really kind of talk to this point, because this is where I worked probably the closest with you on what it was we were trying to do.
Yeah, I'm happy to highlight this because, we spend a lot of time listening to our customers about what they want and how to do things, and sometimes we've got to really sit back and think about what are we asking them to do, to take on. Again, you get back to the moving the cheese, and you want to minimize that, and you want to give them their features in a way that is simple to understand and actually moves their business forward. So as a result of that, the job view architecture makes a lot of things possible that we could never do before. We got a new program grid in there, and now we've got some magic so that when MPI items that we identify as having an issue that we're going to have to repair or replace, the fact that that automatically generates the job containers ready for pricing, that means that the shops didn't have to go back and review that inspection and manually create these job containers. They're there already. All they need to do is add the details, the pricing, and that's a significant head start with time savings because, again, keep the process simple and don't cause them to have to spend any more time than necessary to get the proper messaging across. And because this happens automatically, there's no misinterpretation of what the technicians actually found. So I'm all in favor of it.
Perfect. Perfect. Would you mind, Tim, again, sorry to be my PA, but would you mind clicking on to the next slide and playing the first short video?
Here we go. To start an inspection, we first need to get the job details into the system, and we'll use an integration point to complete this. When looking at integrations, it's important to understand the why. We want to reduce complexity for shop staff, and we want to ensure the important process around pricing a job is left unchanged. So we'll focus on automation, synchronization, and making sure your current process stays the same. Let me show you how simple it is to import jobs and get ready to carry out an inspection. First, we strongly recommend enabling Job View, which is a simple toggle switch in your Shop Data Setup menu under the Presentation tab. The Job View mode provides clarity to jobs on screen and also makes estimates and invoices easier to understand. When items are sent back from inspection, job containers are automatically created, saving time and speeding up the pricing process. Job View keeps things simple for both you and your customer. Now I'll add a canned job to the order. Please note your normal methods of pricing still apply, and I'll use Estimator in a later video just for demo purposes. You'll also see your vehicle memo note right on the inspections platform. Customer visibility is optional. Once added, we go to the inspection platform and see a complete replica of the job, including notes. We have all the customer and vehicle details and everything that was entered in Manager. No double entry, no copy paste, just one simple click. Bonus: all these details seen here are available to your technicians on their mobile devices. As you can see, most of the process still takes place in Manager SE, just like always. By enabling Job View and our import feature, you'll get a complete solution that lets you focus on what really matters, giving your customers the best experience possible. I sure like that one every time I see it.
Perfect. I'm glad you like that, Tim. I did not see it, but then again, there's not been a presentation in my life where I've ever been told or not been told your camera doesn't work, you're on mute, Sid, or you're sharing the wrong screen. So nothing ever changes. Happy days. Are we showing step 2 complete an inspection, Tim? Hopefully we are.
Yes, we are.
Perfect. So if we go back to the video that you've just watched, and I'm glad you saw it because I didn't. So if you go back to that one, that's fabulous. That's quite easy. But the important bit now is really getting stuck into the actual inspection itself, because we've got to arm our technicians, we've got to arm our guys and girls out there finding the things that are wrong with the vehicle. And Tim, what do you see as the kind of key point here when we review completing an inspection?
Well, obviously, we don't want to introduce any more overhead. It really is about the speed that I can get through this transaction inside my shop and the options that present themselves when I'm processing those inspection items.
Well, yeah, great points. I would just point out, of course, that there are checks that are more kind of mandatory geared. And what I mean by that is in the United Kingdom, for example, it would be a Ministry of Transportation check, which I believe you call a Department of Transport check, the DOT, or forgive me, my cousins, I was calling it the DOT inspection for a long time till I was corrected. I now know it's the DOT inspection. So if you do have an inspection that has more kind of mandatory feel, you will have to complete those items. But of course, we aim to make that as fast as is humanly possible, while still maintaining those kind of regulatory aspects of the template itself. So if you wouldn't mind, I think we're into the next video now, Tim.
Why, yes, we are.
Thanks very much.
Completing an inspection on your customer's vehicle should follow a simple, well-defined process. The inspection tool should fit seamlessly into the technician's workflow without adding complexity to an already time-pressured job. The tool should let you search, mark up, and send information back to the service team in a fast yet accurate manner. The inspection flow should offer different ways to find and mark up an item. It should also be available on your team's mobile devices. Just head to the App Store on your Android or Apple device and download the native application. Once logged in, you'll see the jobs assigned to you, and our test vehicle is ready for inspection. I can see the car needs brake pads, so I'll search for the item I want to mark up. You can use voice search, work your way through the item groups, or search as shown here in this short video. Each method gives you quick access to the relevant item. Choosing a predefined comment keeps things consistent both in how the job is color-coded and how it's explained to the customer. For demo purposes, I've also pre-selected some images and a video. You can view and edit images in the application, including marking them up with text or an arrow, perhaps to draw the customer's eye to the relevant point. Once completed, you can use the toggles to check the items you've identified in the inspection before sending them back to Manager SE. That way the service team can complete the pricing. A quick reminder, using the Job View feature makes this simple for your team to manage. And more importantly, it presents the information to the user in a logical way, helping you explain what needs to be done and why. We need a tool that balances the benefits of completing inspections with the need to keep the shop running efficiently. Only the items and steps that help improve the connection between shop and customer should be required, and it all needs to fit into your current workflow. Bam! Pricing and communicating.
Awesome, thank you. One thing I kind of want to highlight on the finding of items is there's some pretty cool features built in that we didn't have time really to put into the video, Tim, today, which is quite sad. But anyway, you can do things like use your voice. That wouldn't have come across really on the video that well. But you can also search things in the predefined comments. And if you remember, I referenced earlier, the way a technician describes something might not necessarily be how I'm able to kind of absorb that and understand what it is that you're saying. So you can have predefined comments inside all of the inspection templates. So let's say you find something that has a leak. You can just say the word leak, and the tool will actually filter all of the items that have a comment or the word leak inside them, so you can quickly find them and add them into your job, which is really quite a neat feature, I think anyway. Certainly one that I use more often than not. I'm a lazy man and I wear glasses a great deal, and I am forever without my glasses, so I talk to my phone like a lunatic when I'm trying to find anything, but it's because I can't see the keyboard. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So where are we now? Pricing, community. Tim, the money. Okay, perfect. Yeah. This is where we transition into the money. So we've talked a lot about keeping the core jobs inside your shop management system, and that includes pricing. Because inside that shop management tool, you have myriad ways of doing pricing. You might have some canned jobs set up, for example. Certainly a favorite of mine. That's because, Tim, you trained me how to use them. So certainly a favorite of mine is to use a canned job. You might have lookups to your own parts catalogs from your preferred vendor that you might want to use. But I'm not asking you to change anything. However you would price a job up today, please just do it the same way inside your shop tool. And then when you're done, when you've done with the pricing, all you're going to do is whiz that across to our system, and we're now ready to send that off to our customer and do that piece of the work. So if you wouldn't mind, Tim, just pressing on with the next video, that'd be awesome.
Once you've identified the needed work, it's time for the next steps, shown here in this short clip. When our technician submits the job, it's sent to both Manager SE and the inspection web tool. Remember, everything stays in sync. Our key objectives in this phase are pricing the items, sending them to our customer using their preferred contact method. This includes validating their preferences from a legal standpoint. Let's dive back into the system for a quick overview of what to do next. This step is usually done by a service writer or manager. Our tech is done on this job until authorized. Our inspection is complete and the items are available on the web and in Manager SE for pricing. If I open this job and look at the authorization page, you'll see our identified item, but no prices. So we need to hop over to Manager SE to complete that step. Once pricing is completed and sent through online authorization, we'll wait for the customer to interact with us using their preferred contact method. We've kept things simple and consistent with your shop's normal process for pricing and validating the job. Customer authorization.
Brilliant. Now, Tim, I have to ask you as the guru, my sensei on all things using the shop tool, did we meet the objectives as set out?
I believe we did. What's cool is the integration did all the work of laying it out in the repair order. From here, the users are comfortable using familiar shop management tools in Manager SE to do those to fulfill those pricing options. Each job container has the details of all the parts and labor that are going to be used, and we can fulfill that with either a canned job, as mentioned, go to our parts catalogs, go to our estimator, and get labor and OE parts from there. The job view presents this detail on the estimates and invoices, extending it out all the way through the approval phase on the customer's cell phone. So the story is created quickly and remains consistent all the way.
Perfect. Well, that's good. I'm glad we did that. So we're going to get into customer authorization, and this is really where those predefined comments, those things like adding photographs and videos onto your inspection come into play. And I always use this example. And if my wife was in earshot, I would be in trouble when I say this, but I'll say it because she's in another room. But if you were to call my wife or text my wife, for example, and say, listen, we need to spend, or I need you to spend some money on a lower suspension arm, she would probably say, what on earth is a lower suspension arm? And she'd be entitled to say that because she's not a technician trying to maintain a car. So this part of the journey, this customer authorization or communication phase, to me, it's vital, and it's the bit really where we earn our crust. It's trying to simplify that message. It's trying to make sure that we are as transparent and as humane as possible, not just a text message saying, hey, I've got your car, it's broken, and you're probably going to owe me some money. Give me a call. No one wants to receive that text message or that call, right? So if you wouldn't mind hitting the next video, Tim, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. If the customer has approved the work through the online form, the next step is to update the systems and letting the team know that we can complete the brake job identified. The next step is simple but vital, making sure we keep a digital record of authorization for every item processed. That way there are no surprises at collection. So the customer has authorized the work, so we can now carry out the repairs. When looking at the workshop view, you'll notice the job line has turned green. That means the customer has fulfilled their part. Open the job, and you'll see the cart has been updated to include the brakes, so our process has been a success. Just press the Authorize Inspection to finalize the job. And as shown here on the workshop view, the status now says Authorized. If we hop back over to Manager SE and open the job in question, we'll see a note that tells us the customer has authorized the work. It includes a time and date stamp. So it's ready to convert to an order, and that's it. We're done. With this last step, we carry out the authorized repairs. It's all been managed by an inspection tool that's intuitive, easy to follow, and doesn't require retraining. But what if the customer doesn't approve all of the work? No worries, we've got that covered too. You won't always convert the same day, so it's important to keep track of any deferred work. With Job View, just click the three-dot menu to create a new revision and also gather all the follow-up jobs in one place. That way you can plan time during the week to make follow-up calls or send messages, all from one place. Now navigate to the Follow-up tab. Select a date range and you'll see all deferred jobs, including any yellow-coded items that might have been a bit early to complete. Click on any item to see the full job details. Never miss an opportunity. Finishing up.
Fantastic. Now, Tim, just reflecting back on that video, if we think about what we're trying to do, we're trying to be transparent, show the customer in a clean and efficient way, an effective way, in fact, what's required on the car through use of photograph, of videos. And did we meet that brief? Would you say we did that?
Yeah, you know, the fact is that it's kind of like testimony as to what's happening with the vehicle, that you've got visual evidence that corroborates the original vehicle complaint and the corrections that you've made. Having that evidence is really good. But, you know, one question I had is, are there some other tools in the pipeline to assist shops with that customer education aspect? Like, what is a control arm, for example?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, Tim. Yes. So we actually have a library, a bank, if you like, of animated visuals, and that's not to say they're cartoons. Don't worry, it's not it's not Tom and Jerry level, but they are animations that actually help explain to a customer what each of these individual components means and what it does actually on your car. And what we found, because we use these a great deal actually throughout Europe at the moment, what we found is that when you explain it to people and you also explain the symptoms, they kind of go, oh yeah, that's why my car behaved that way. Now that makes sense to me because I've seen this small or this short animation. So yeah, the plan is, Tim, that we'll start to include those as part of the service offer as well. And obviously, as things evolve, when we think about things like AI, for example, Tim, and kind of agents, we're introducing for some of our current customers conversational agents that will actually help guide them through any questions that they may have. Why do I need two of those, for example? Why not just one? As a nice example of why you're trying to sell me two. Tires is my favorite. Why are you trying to sell me two when only one needs replaced? Well, two's better than one. So we're introducing those types of tools. So yeah, we've got some things coming down the pipeline, which I'm very, very excited about, frankly. So we've done the money shot, right? We've had the kind of, I've got you to sign off that you're going to do that. That's brilliant. The money's confirmed. It's come back to us. But now I need to get that back into the shop tool because I'm not the point of invoice, right? I'm not the guy or girl that's going to generate the invoice or the bill or collect the money, more importantly. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to take that now completed and authorized job. We're going to send that back to our shop solution. And this short video, again, will show you how we finish all that up. And then we'll wrap up, Tim. So if you wouldn't mind showing that last video, that would be amazing.
I'd be happy to. Here we go. You've completed the inspection. Now it's time to reach out to the customer and clearly explain what their vehicle needs. We'll walk through our example vehicle and the items we identified in the inspection video, but this time from the customer's point of view. Remember, they may not be technically minded or know much about vehicles. That is your job. Our aim is to be clear about what is needed and present it in a professional manner. Using predefined comments ensures consistency across the board, no matter who carries out the work. This also means that we're reducing the manual work for your teams when completing the inspection. They don't need to translate their technical know-how for the layman. We've already taken care of that. The online authorization portal gives your customers a clear overview of the items identified during their inspection. The portal provides your shop's information, their vehicle details, any pre-authorized items, and a simple explanation of what needs attention. The shopping cart shows the customer what they're paying for. And if they add an item, the cart updates in real time, so they understand the total amount they'll have to pay upon vehicle collection. A red item indicates that we recommend immediate attention, and this is critical for the safety of their vehicle. Photos and videos give your customers the why, and this helps build trust through transparency. Yellow items aren't as urgent and less of a risk, but will require attention before their next planned service visit. The online authorization portal connects your customers to your shop in a simple yet effective way. To wrap up, we need to remember our goal: clarity and simplicity delivered in a way that your customers prefer. Whether they're a smartphone user or prefer a desktop PC, it shouldn't matter. Maybe they prefer SMS, text, or email. Again, it doesn't matter. Your solution should be to meet them where they are. Summary.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tim. Hopefully, what we've shown is actually it's quite a slick interaction between the systems, and more importantly, Tim, hopefully I've stayed on the right side of the line with the brief that you gave me, which is shop management, and you need to fit in with that, not the other way around. Again, I'm going to ask you the same question, Tim. have we managed to meet the brief with what we've shown today?
I have to say overall, we really have. You did a great job with that. I like the fact that we're showing how JobView integrates directly with the inspection tool and reinforces the collective benefits and synergy of how it works together without any major changes to Manager SE, that our users will be comfortable in their shop management home.
Fabulous. I mean, I would have just said that's pretty cool. What we showed.
Yeah, that's you. I know you.
That's what I would say. It's pretty cool. So in terms of a summary, hopefully then we've shown that, we're trying to provide or disrupt minimally in terms of the shop's workflow. More importantly, we're trying to place the customer in the journey where they themselves are most comfortable and interact with them in a way that suits them the best. And that might be email, it might be a telephone call. You know, a lot of people prefer a telephone call, even to this day, and that's cool. We've got no problem with that whatsoever. But we need to offer those variations, and we need to offer those different ways of articulating what is in some cases a very complex problem. I could bore you with my current story. My wife has a GLC Mercedes, and we've just had to have the AdBlue tank replaced on that. And if anyone has ever repaired a Mercedes, you know how much I've just been stung by my local repair shop. But they were fantastic because they explained it all to me. They even showed me the diagnostic output and said, Sid, we know you know what you're talking about. This is what's wrong with your car. So they knew me, the customer, and I didn't mind paying them the £2,750 to replace the AdBlue tank. So hopefully we've shown a very simple process, fits in with what you and the customer want. And by the way, if you do have deferred work, we've automated all of that follow-up activity. So you never lose sight of any of that again. Because ultimately what I'm trying to design and trying to deliver here is a tangible, a very, very real return on investment and a returning customer. And that's how I measure return on investment. It's actually on returning customer. And if I succeed in that, your ROI, your financial benefit will no doubt go up. And with that, Tim, I will be quiet because you've heard quite enough of me for one day, and I'll hand back over to Andrew. I think we're going to go into a Q&A section now, Andrew, if I've followed the agenda correctly.
Yes, and thank you for that great presentation. Great information, great walkthrough of that product. In a few moments, we're going to begin the Q&A portion of the webinar. But before we do that, I'd ask everybody to please complete our survey. It's popping up on your screen right now, and we need that feedback as a special incentive. We are offering a $10 Amazon gift card to 25 randomly selected people who complete today's survey. The survey should be appearing in the middle of your screen in just a second. If you don't see it, you can launch it by clicking on the black toolbar of your screen and clicking that survey icon. Now let's get to some of these audience questions. They're really good. One that did crop up here is the question about hardware. Does this work on all devices, Apple, Android? Do they need to buy like a designated iPad for the a technician? What's the hardware strategy?
No. So we try to remain device agnostic. So what does that mean in English? That means that we code using native applications for both Android and for iOS, for Apple and for any other, because when you say Android, there's myriad devices. No, the shop can use pretty much every device that they might have or use today. We wouldn't ask them to buy anything new on top of that. I'm really here trying to deliver a software solution, Andrew. I'm not Best Buy.
Question here from one of the audience members here. Do we need? Does the inspection tool? Here it is. How do digital inspections improve customer trust and approval ratings? I think this kind of goes back to like our dealership CSI ratings.
Yeah, correct. It's all around transparency, and in some cases, that transparency can bite us on the rear, because what we're actually giving is the customer a little bit of information that they could go and mystery shop somebody else or say, hey, Garage A or Shop A's told me it's going to be this much for this, and can you do it any cheaper? But we've given them that information, and I feel more comfortable that we're actually giving them all of the information that they might need and require, because ultimately, once they validate and they verify that, you know what, that is what your vehicle needs, that's reinforced my trust. That customer now says, yeah, you told me the right thing about my car. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that should win the business.
Absolutely.
Got a question here. It comes in. Are these messages sent to the customer via SMS, or can I email them to my customer?
Yeah, you can use SMS, email. I know in North America, WhatsApp's not quite as popular as it is outside, but you can WhatsApp. You can use any kind of medium that you can plug a comms platform into. SMS tends to be still one of the most effective ways to do that. And I think it's because of the synchronicity of a text message. If it's an email, you might be in the office and you might not look at your personal email for a couple of hours, for example, so you might not get that. SMS tends to be looked at more readily. People feel the buzz in their pocket, and of course we want that dopamine hit, so we're straight into our pocket and we have a look at who's trying to contact us.
No question about it, and a number of our shop management customers are already using our texting service, and it's going to blend right in.
They do, to great effect. And yeah, that's a great point. it integrates to that. No changes. If you have that turned on in your shop today,
You already know how to use it. Yeah.
use that same flow.
Question here from the audience. Steve is asking, in regards to the language that's used in the app itself and the communications with customers, is there any sort of guidance according to the MAP standards in AMRA?
You can put specialized comments in, predetermined comments already into the inspection templates. So if there's a language set that's already agreed or is commonly understood, should I say, Andrew? That's probably a better way of putting it. If there's a language set that's commonly understood, you can actually have that comment drive the item. Let me give you an example of measurement, if I may, because measurements are universal. If you was to select, for example, brake pads were 70% worn, we already map 70% to amber, or yellow in your case. Sorry, we call it amber, but yellow. And if they were 90% worn, we automatically map that to red. So we use language and we use predetermined tongues, if you like, to map to red, amber, and green items automatically. So any kind of common taxonomy or terminology that you want to use, we can put in as the commentary. Yeah, and then it's universally understood. Really important for fleet, really important for heavy duty and truck. Because when you start to think about those things, the terms that are used are universal.
Good question here. In terms of reports for the DVI system, what types of reports and analytics are you looking at in terms of shop owner using it, people buying? I guess he's talking about also people accepting the
it's my
authorizing work.
Andrew, it's my favorite. I'm so happy someone asked that. So we actually track every event that occurs within the platform. So if I start from the most fundamental and the most basic, how many vehicles or jobs did you load up today? I loaded up 100 jobs. How many jobs received an inspection? X. So that's point one, first one. You can start to then question your staff on why didn't we do more inspections, for example, depending on how you're structuring your business process. We track everything that's identified, how much, when it was sent, via what medium, did the customer open it, did they authorize it, did they not authorize it, did they defer it, did they dismiss it, when did we do it, how long did it take? All of the above, Andrew, we track. All of the above. And talking about future roadmap items, and Tim knows this is a favorite of mine, we also pull in some of your shop data. So when it's invoiced, for example, I can tell you pretty much immediately, and you can log into my little app. You can say, how much did I invoice today? These are things that are on the roadmap right now that we're going to drag in. But from the inspection side, you get all of that data. How much did I sell? How much did I defer? And in a month's time, what's my opportunity? Because if I've deferred a chunk of red work, I'll be saying, hey, next month, you've got an opportunity just through a few phone calls using follow-up to actually close the deal on $2,000, $3,000 worth of work. So we track absolutely everything. Sorry, I should have said at the beginning, I'm an absolute data geek.
Jeff has a question here. Oh, Tim, go.
No, I was just going to say, I'll testify. He is a data geek, 1,000%.
Sorry, he asked the wrong question. So that's perfect.
Question here from Jeff in the audience. He says, in terms of deferred work, is the follow-up automatic, or can a shop modify the workflow for a certain customer, or is it all manual?
All of the above is the correct answer. So what we do is inside the system, we have a default as to when that follow-up will appear. And what we do traditionally is red work, which is obviously more critical to safety. Actually, you shouldn't be leaving the shop with red work, really, but let's assume that you do. By the way, we make you sign for that. So on our tablet, we have a disclaimer that says, yeah, you can leave today if you want, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, but I'm telling you your car's dangerous. Please put your squiggle here so I can cover my own rear end. But if you did leave, we will actually set a reminder for the shop the next day and then 3 days later to say, you need to contact that customer. I mentioned earlier, Andrew, we are bringing agents in, an agents and AI bot. We're bringing agents in that will automatically do that follow-up for you. That's coming soon. I'll love to come back and do another webinar on that because they are awesome. And I'll show you how all of those works. Very conversational. Yellow work or deferred work, you can defer it for a set period of time. The system does that by default. Or you can pre-select a time and date stamp. So if the customer says, listen, I don't know, let's take my example. Oh, listen, I've just booked a holiday Can I bring that back in September when maybe my children haven't emptied my wallet? And so you can pick a predefined time. But what will happen then is in the system is at that triggered event, we will automatically tell the shop, here are your follow-up events, and it will send you a nice little message to say you need to call these people.
Got a good question here. Tim.
I was just going to say, in parallel to that, that any of that work that we moved that was deferred from order to revision, once the reporting guides you, it's like, hey, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's already there and ready to go. All you've got to do is transfer it back to the order screen as approved.
Exactly. Another huge benefit of the current structure. Yeah, it's really, really simple. I'm just there to remind you, once you've done the job, simple to move it across and get that work done. Absolutely.
Well, we're coming to the top of the hour, so I think we have time for about 2 more questions here. This one sounds like it's a Manager SE user. It says, do we need to be using Manager SE or have Job View enabled to use the digital inspection tool?
Job View, yes.
The short answer is yes. Short answer is yes, because having the Job View mode on, besides the improvement to the customer documents, it does provide those critical job containers so that each inspection item that has been deemed, we need to estimate the work to correct this condition. That magic happens because of the job containers, as far as the pricing for each item, and then also as the approvals from the customer swim back onto the order screen. It's important to have the Job View layout.
And they're automatically on the order screen. I think that's the key point. Because you use Job View, they're automatically on the order screen. If it is deferred, okay, you've got to press the 3 dots and move it to revision. That's it. It really is that easy. We do tell you if it's authorized as well on the actual order screen.
Interesting question here. In terms of licenses, is there individual licenses for each tablet or phone, or is it just covered under the subscription?
Shop subscription. Tim, forgive me. I think you call them bundles, but underneath the bundle that you acquire, there's no kind of, I'm going to charge you for 3 licenses because I'm looking at myself, Tim, and you, Andrew.
This is for this implementation, it's going to be however many devices active, whatever you want to do with that. Absolutely. So it is, it could be a standalone add-on to an existing suite of our product, or as Sid mentioned, there are different bundles and combinations that are also available.
Yeah.
And we've got time for one more question. I think this is a great one. In terms of storage of the photos, the videos, does that occur in the cloud or will it be on the hard drive of the shop?
Cloud. But you can download them to your hard drive on the shop. So the answer is both, but by default, we take everything off the device. And the reason we do that is you might be using a personal device. Your technician might use their own phone. So we don't leave anything on that device. We take it all out of the actual technician device or the mobile device, stored in the cloud, all available via the web client. We are a fully web-enabled platform, all available via the web client. And should you want to download all that stuff, you can, no problem.
Well, that wraps up the webinar. Anything you guys would like to add?
I'm just going to say, I've had a fun hour. Thank you, Andrew.
This has been great. And thank you, Mitchell. And thank you, Tim. Anything you'd like to add, Tim?
Just always, I know if Sid's involved, we're going to have some fun. We appreciate the opportunity to be with you today, and maybe we'll do it again one day soon.
Well, that wraps up the Q&A session and also the webinar for today. I'd like to remind our audience, the recording of this webinar will be available on the Shop Owner Brand websites. Feel free to log in and view it, or encourage your colleagues to view it too. Tomorrow, you're going to be receiving that email with a link to the recording. So this concludes our webinar. I'd like to thank Sid and Tim for their time today, and also you for your time in attending this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.